Hey, you, Nina here. You're officially listening to Triggered. Can we play with that wherever you get your podcasts? And it is the holidays. I've had lots of episodes recently about skills to help you get through your holidays. And I don't just mean survive, folks. I mean, I want you to thrive. Yes. I want you to feel like your most vibrant self. And a lot of that means, guess what? You got to set boundaries, and not just boundaries with other people, but also boundaries with yourself. Now, today's episode, we're going to be exploring not just how you set boundaries. What we're actually going to be exploring is how do you empower yourself to level up. So, this episode in particular is inspired by this upcoming Friday. Right now, it is December 7th, right? Wednesday's episode on the 9th of December, 2022, right? I have a free workshop about the empowerment spectrum. Just go to my Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina, click the link. You get access to the replay, so you don't even have to be available that hour on Friday, and you still get all the goodness of that empowerment spectrum, okay? Other thing I'm doing this week is on Saturday, I have a radio show that I'm doing with the Love and Victory show with Val. And it is titled You Thought You Broke Me. We're going to be exploring, right, trauma, how it affects us, and how you move from disempowered to empowered. Okay, again, this week seems to all be about empowerment. And so, what am I going to do in this episode? I am going to share a little story with you, per usual, and then we are going to explore ways to recognize how you can be more empowered in your life. What does that mean, Nina? I'll tell you. It means that you and I are both going to be consenting to play with very particular ideas around power dynamics and how we can empower you. What does that mean, Nina? It means get out your journal or a really good friend to dialogue with what comes up for you in this episode, because before the end of the episode, you know that I'm going to leave you with some skills, my friend. I'm going to offer you some tools. I'm going to put them on the table. And if they're beneficial for you, I want you to take them and run with them or shift them or make them work for you. And guess what? If they don't, you can throw them in the trash. That's okay too. But for now, you know that I am curious. Are you ready to play?
Welcome to Triggered. Can we play with that? You know that moment when your emotions ramp up in an instant, leaving you feeling helpless, frozen, or out of control? In that moment, you've been emotionally hijacked, the very definition of triggered. And I want to ask you, can we play with that? I'm Nina L. Garcia, drama therapist and empowerment coach of Houston Creative Arts Therapy. Join me as we discover ways to empower you and the people who mean the most to you to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. Triggered. Real playful. Real respectful. Real empowered.
Let's take a breath. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know, I am an empowerment consultant, a drama therapist, and a trauma specialist. So, one of the things that I utilize when I am working with human beings is the empowerment spectrum. Now, I am going to actually give you all 5 different facets of the empowerment spectrum today. We are going to have a link in the show notes, and you can sign up for that free workshop on Friday or listen into the Love and Victory show with Val on Saturday. Lots of opportunities here for you to lean into your edge when it comes to empowerment. So here we go. When you have something happen to you, and I really want you to see if you can put yourself into the stage of your life and ask yourself, right, thinking about this. When have you had something happen to you that has stuck with you and has continued to affect your life beyond that moment? Okay. It might be something small that you keep coming back to and thinking about. It might be something huge, larger than life, that you just can't stop thinking about, right? Regardless of how big or small it feels, what I again want you to ask yourself, write this down in your journal, is what is at least one thing that keeps coming back for me? It's like on a merry-go-round. It keeps swinging me around. It just keeps popping up, whether it's in thoughts, whether that's a feeling that keeps coming back, or if it's something behaviorally that you keep doing and you're like, Nina, I don't know why I keep doing this. And I'm like, hey, friend, can we talk about patterns and empowerment? Because if at some point something happened in your life to get you doing the same thing over and over and over again, like a broken record. And if that broken record is not helping you, let's go ahead and talk about the empowerment spectrum now. Okay. Here it is in a nutshell. You've got stages 1 through 5, or facets 1 through 5, really, because stages sort of implies that you have to move from one to the other. And guess what, folks? You don't. If you want to do this personal work and you want to be the best, most vibrant individual that you can, I am inviting you to explore the empowerment spectrum this week. So 1 through 5, the 5 different facets here of the empowerment spectrum. 1 being disempowered, okay? Disempowered, I want you to imagine for the self, arrow down, for other, arrow down. What does that mean, Nina? Let me tell you. It means, let's say I got into a car accident, and let's say I identify as a female in this car accident. If I am disempowered and engaging in a disempowered way, arrow down for me, arrow down for you, what that means is I'm saying something like, you know what? It's because I'm a woman driver, and women driver are terrible drivers. Like, I should not have been on the road, and like, neither should you as a woman. Like, you should either take an Uber or really consider like letting someone else drive. Super disempowered thought. It puts me down. It puts you down. Okay. We see where this disempowered comes in. If you know that's you, click save on that and write it down. If you're like, oh my gosh, I can totally see that in the world, click save and write it down, right? I want you to be able to notice this particular power dynamic, because when we talk about the empowerment spectrum, it's all different shades of power dynamics. Disempowered is one of them. So click save on that. We're going to keep going. After disempowered, we have codependent. Okay. If you have a codependent power dynamic, what this means is generally self has an arrow down, other has an arrow up. What does that mean? It means I am willing to put myself down in order to lift you up. I'm willing to sacrifice something about me if it means that you will be able to move forward, and I am the one who gets to help you do that. Yeah. That is a codependent dynamic. If you are the individual who struggles with that, sacrificing some part of yourself, minimizing or misrepresenting or outright rejecting some part of yourself so that someone else can succeed or move forward or even just feel better about themselves, you might be struggling with a codependent power dynamic here, okay? This is a relational thing. So I want you to click save on that, because we are going to keep going. If you're not happy with that relationship, we can redefine it, okay? Third one, smack dab in the middle, we call it avoidant. An avoidant power dynamic has sort of like a slash through the self and a slash through the other. It says, I want my hands out of this one. I don't want to, be thought of as this. I sort of want to be Switzerland. I don't want to be involved in those things. Now, Switzerland aside, this is one we hear often, where people who see something negative or harmful happen and then choose to say nothing. And so for those of you who are like, whoa, wait a minute, Nina, I don't want to get involved in everybody else's drama. My friend, I am definitely not saying that you have to be involved in anyone else's drama. What I am saying is, if you witness and experience something harmful happen to someone else, and you make a choice not to help or disrupt, right? Help that person who was harmed or disrupt the harm being done. If you make a choice to not even acknowledge or be transparent, right? But to actively avoid dealing with that situation despite knowing that harm has happened, then you may be struggling with an avoidant power dynamic. You're willing to pull yourself out, which means, right, in essence, what we're having here is a lot of people who are complicit in harm happening. This is when we say, well, you're complicit then. There's a difference between I'm making a choice not to get involved in someone else's, say, relational drama. Susie Q and Biddy Bob, they want to go out on Friday night. Susie Q wants to go to the golf range and Biddy Bob wants to go out dancing. And they look at you and they say, oh, you have to agree with me, right? Says Susie Q. No, you got to agree with me, says Biddy Bob, right? And you're there and you're like, whoa, guys, leave me out of this one. Leave me out of this one, right? I'm Switzerland over here. This is a choice to remove yourself out of the middle of a situation in which harm is not happening to either of these individuals, right? Now, arguably, I don't know the context of the situation, but given just the bare minimum of what I just gave you, there's no harm happening to either of these people, okay? If you changing the narrative here. If you see Susie Q and Biddy Bob arguing, and Susie Q decides to push Biddy Bob, right, just knocks him back and says, we are going to the golf range, okay? And I don't want to hear any more about it. And instead of saying anything, checking in with Biddy Bob, or addressing the transparency of that moment, whoa, guys, that just seemed really aggressive. You just pushed him back down. Is everything okay? And if you don't do any of those things and you actively avoid addressing the harm that's been done here, then again, this is an avoidant power dynamic, okay? So that is number 3. Are you ready for number 4? Take a breath in. A powered dynamic. Now, this is capital P, powered, with an ED at the end, okay? Powered dynamic. A powered dynamic has an arrow up for the self and an arrow down for the other. Now, this one can be tricky because in a powered dynamic, you might say something like, well, I believe that we all have a right to our own opinions. But what a powered dynamic does in action is also would be saying something like, but if you disagree with me, I am willing to put you down in order to make sure that what I believe is held above, because I think that what I believe is right and what you believe is wrong. This sets up a powered dynamic. Somebody always has to be a victim in a power dynamic. Someone is always wrong in a powered dynamic, okay? So again, that's self arrow up, other arrow down. That's a power dynamic. Are there times when you need to engage in a power dynamic to protect yourself? Probably so. I could definitely list out some, although I won't in this particular episode. I just want you to understand that a power dynamic means you are willing to minimize, misrepresent, or outright reject somebody else if it means that you will be held as above that individual and or their beliefs. Okay, that is a power dynamic. Click save and let's move on to empowerment. Okay, stage 5. Wait, not stage. Sorry, I don't know why I keep wanting to go back to stages. Facet 5. Okay, the empowerment facet. If you have an empowered dynamic, capital EMPOWERED dynamic. If you have an empowered dynamic, you say arrow up for the self and you say arrow up for the other person. What does this mean? This means that you are not willing to sacrifice yourself or minimize yourself or misrepresent yourself or outright reject yourself. You are willing to own your truth and say, well, this is my truth based on my lived experience. And you hold yourself up to that standard and that lived experience. It also means, because you have an arrow up for the other, that you recognize, oh, I don't need to minimize, misrepresent, or outright reject you either, right? And I don't need you to sacrifice yourself for me. You need to own your truth based on your lived experience. And I can see that we have a difference in lived experience, which has led to a difference in our beliefs or the way that we express ourselves. Now, here is the question that I am always asked for the empowered dynamic. Well, does that mean that I have to believe what they believe, Nina? Because, I don't believe what they believe. You do not have to believe what that person believes. Empowered dynamic means you believe that they believe it, and that in their world, that is very real to them, even if you think it is 100% ridiculous to you, okay? An example of this, y'all, I was gonna go with a real triggering example. This is triggered, can we play with that? Okay, I'm gonna do it. Get ready, folks, because this is a hot button issue, but here it is. One of the more recent triggering topics that has come up due to not just the holidays and family spending time together, but a lot of legislation in Texas, which is now outlawed abortions, right? The abortion ban, quote unquote. Take a breath in. If you are living in an empowered dynamic and you have chosen the empowered lifestyle, a lot of people are going to get ready, y'all get ready, okay? If you have done this, you can say, and this is just, oh, excuse me, my throat almost went to cut out there. Let me pause for a second. And we're back. Sorry about that. Y'all went and ate an apple. I think my voice needed some hydration. So here we go. Back on the most triggering example. And I use this because it popped up a lot this year. And people really genuinely were like, Nina, is there such a thing as a powered versus an empowered view when it comes to abortion? And I said, absolutely. In the way that we use it, there is. If you are an individual, and I'm going to put this out there, if you are an individual who believes that people should not have abortions, right? That the body should not engage in abortions, and you say, I do not believe that abortion is an appropriate option for me, and you believe that, you can say that for you and for your body. And if we're not going to talk about voting or anything else out there, if you just believed that and that were just for you, and you said, but you know what? Everybody else has their own body and they can do what they want with their own body. And it shouldn't be up to me to decide what they do. That would be an empowered way to hold that belief. A powered way of holding that belief is believing that you should not get an abortion and that nobody else should, and that you have the power to make that decision for someone else's body. So pause here. Far be it from me to tell you whether you should be powered or empowered when it comes to this. I know that your life experiences are the things that make you who you are and help you choose what things you should and shouldn't believe. But when it comes to this example or other examples, if you are willing to put someone else's experience down and hold yours above, that is a powered dynamic, capital P. If you are willing to say, I'm going to live my life the way I live my life, and I'm going to allow other people to also live their life the way they live their life, right? So long as it's not hurting me or them, and I know there's some caveat and nuance here, then you are living in an empowered way. Okay, so besides the caveat and nuance, which I know we could get into, we're not going to get into in this episode, but that is one of the most extreme examples that keeps coming up this year. When you're empowered, you are not willing to put somebody else down and make them change their beliefs. You are open to dialogue and discussion and understanding they believe what they believe based on their life experience. So if we ever want there to be any kind of shifting in any direction, we need to know how to build a bridge. You need to know how to, in essence, what I say for the empowered individual is how to own your truth without oppressing yourself and without oppressing other people. So that is, in essence, what I planned for you all today. Just a review of the empowerment spectrum from disempowered to empowered. I hope that you clicked save. I hope that you took notes. And I do hope that you talk about this episode with other people and what you've gotten from this episode. If you want more on empowerment, go to my Instagram bio or click the link in the show notes here, right? Drama therapist Nina is who I am on Instagram, but it's in the show notes right now, right below this. Yeah. You can click the links and you can sign up RSVP. You can meet me live. I will be there live on Friday. I will answer your questions. I will help you put yourself and others on the spectrum. I will help you find ways to engage in a more empowered way. Or you will get access to that replay so that even if you can't make it from 10 to 11 CST on Friday, you still have access to some incredible tools and some other examples that other people may share that day. Okay. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that you flip the script and you are willing to play with the empowerment spectrum in your life. And for those of you who enjoy a bit of self-exploration this upcoming week, you know that I like to leave you with a question. My question for you is this. Based on what you now know to be the empowerment spectrum as of December 2022, where would you put yourself as typically residing? Disempowered, codependent, avoidant, powered, or empowered? Okay, that is what I'm leaving you with for this week, because that is what we planned for today, folks. So thank you so much for being willing to explore your triggers as a human being. And if this has been helpful, best thing you can do, one of two things. Share the episode with someone else who you think will benefit from hearing it. And the other thing you can do is go rate us on iTunes. That's what helps push us up in the algorithm so other people can get some of this goodness in their life. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, stay curious.